Hey everyone, welcome back to Agile Leaders, the skill mastery podcast where we help you develop skills to advance as a leader through actionable insights from accomplished founders and operators. I'm your host, Evan Shai. Today we're joined by my friend, Dr. Benjamin Ritter, background in organizational leadership and the founder of Live for Yourself Consulting, helping high achievers develop as and into the leaders that they hope to be. Thank you so much for being with us, Ben.
I am excited to be here. More so just to be in your presence.
Too kind, my man. It is my honor. Any excuse to be able to deep dive on some of these topics. I know you're a very thoughtful person generally, but especially on topics like this. So I'm excited for this conversation, no doubt. I wanted to kick things off just by asking and you sharing a little bit about what led you to the work that you do today, helping leaders develop and grow.
This is kind of if we took all my life experiences and put them in a Venn diagram and you were able to throw a bullseye for some reason into the middle of those. I don't have those skills, but let's imagine that I do. I would be where I'm at today in organizational talent development, executive and leadership coaching. I like to say that we put the career first for the leaders that we are coaching. And so a lot of it has to do with career development, career visioning, understanding yourself, and applying that to how you influence your own career path, as well as the people around you and the organizations that you're a part of. It's all developed. So do you break that down? Coaching, personal development, professional development, caring about the corporate environment, caring about your career, being proactive in your life, being a self-leader. So you look at all those different segments, that's like the center of the Venn diagram. And so without giving you the whole story, but I spent a lot of years learning how to develop into the person that I was, creating a brand identity for myself because I lost it when I was younger. I lost what I thought was my purpose and what was meaning in my life which was actually a career move. And it was not any of those things, but it left me empty, and I had to figure out how to get full. And so I studied social psychology, behavioral psychology, personal development, coaching, how interpersonal dynamics, and really grew this persona of just really having a growth mindset of being open, being not judgmental, figuring out and defining my values over time. And now it did not integrate into my professional life. So interestingly enough, I had this interest in being open to the world, but didn't know how to do that professionally. But strangely enough, the skill that I grew in coaching led to a coaching position. And so I ran a national men's program across the United States while pursuing other areas of my life because I didn't think that was going to be my career. It led me, after a variety of odd jobs and disappointments, I constantly had disappointments in my career. I would get, I had 4 different jobs in fields that I was passionate about canceled the next day after signing those contracts. Now add that on top of the fact that I lost what I thought was the one thing I wanted to do for my professional life. I think I lost I lost the concept that you could be proactive in your career. I lost the concept of what your career should be. And so I just didn't have a very strong and positive, proactive definition. Now I ended up in healthcare, and fast forward 6 years, I was a high achiever achieving, right? We'll throw that in from the intro. But really resentful towards my employers, my leaders for being pretty authoritarian, pretty negative. I was the person people came to cry to because of the type of leadership that we had, and didn't really feel like I chose my job, didn't feel like I had autonomy in it, and so I was going into work trying not to work. And so I was really happy personally, but that was changing because I was so unhappy professionally.
Sure.
Now, luckily, I was selected for an emerging leaders program, and I ended up getting a mentor. And his job was to run all of the different sites that were in charge of the Emerging Leaders program. So he was the guy doing talent development, organizational development. And lo and behold, he walked the walk. He talked his walk, he walked his talk. There we go. Something like that. And he was an incredible individual that showed me a way to apply my interests in professional development, in personal development, and to fix the system that I was so resentful towards, that I felt like I was a victim of. and to do it in a way that for a job that I felt great about. And it was like this merging of everything that I thought that was important professionally. And so I decided that's what I wanted to do. I have this wake up moment of I'm being the victim. I've personally created this environment for myself. How do I now want to go apply what I learned personally into my professional life? And so that led the path forward to where I am today. And there's a bunch of things that happened to get me to where I am today, but that was that pinnacle moment. Like if that moment if I went back in time and interrupted that moment, like, do some Marty McFly Back to the Future kind of thing, I don't know what I would be doing right now. I'd be doing something completely different.
Super interesting. How important, or obviously it's very important, that particular example. How much since then have you leaned on mentorship as a way of cracking your cosmic egg, or switching things up, or exposing you to different perspectives when you feel stuck? Is mentorship or something that resembles mentorship an important strategy for you in that scenario?
I think strangely enough, we don't know what we don't know. And back then, I did not realize that there was a personal development field for the professional world. And meaning that there were researchers, there were experts, there was this whole plethora of information that I didn't know existed in the world. And a lot of the clients I work with, they don't know that too. They find me somehow, I don't know how, and I open up the world of resources to them other than just developing themselves. And so once I knew it existed, I guess you could say my mentor was every single expert in person I came across. Because I'm not the type of person that actually leans on someone. I look at someone for ideas, and then I go follow that path. And I see everyone as a potential source of information. Like, for example, I have a client right now, I deal with a lot of clients that have issues with procrastination. And I don't care how educated I am on something.
Sorry about that.
I don't care how educated I am in something. There's always going to be something that I might not know, or something I might need to refresh on. So I went searching for information again. Once I knew that it existed, I was able to lead myself down the path of educating myself. And so I'm listening to podcasts, right? Like, for example, this morning on procrastination, I'm reading books on procrastination. And even if I'm going in and doing a workshop on executive presence, I've done probably maybe almost 50 of them, right? And I've developed my own framework and such on executive presence. I'm still going to see what the current research is there out there, because the door was open to me. And so, long answer to your question, but a mentor is feeling comfortable exploring what information exists on a specific topic. It could be a person, it could be a field of research, it could be a paper, it could be a podcast, it could be a book, it could be a friend, your friends, it could be a flyer. Like, I don't know, it could be literally any source of content.
Makes complete sense. Certainly consistent with how I look at it as well. It's like mentorship, ultimately the utility or objective in it is exposing me to maybe different ways of thinking, providing mental models, and really, though, that utility can be captured in a number of different ways, not necessarily just having, one identifiable person that you've mutually agreed to this, particular relationship, which I think oftentimes can be how people conventionally think about mentorship. I think mentorship can be more expansive than that. You are a, insatiable learner. You've already demonstrated a couple examples of how you go about doing that. Give us a sense, like thus far in your career, to the extent that you can articulate a couple of them, what skills have been the most impactful that have allowed you to be successful in these different, domains that you've experienced, and now ultimately as an entrepreneur yourself?
I talked about passion and purpose for a really split second, kind of skipped over it I lost mine. So one thing is really important, is the definition of why we do whatever we do. So why do we work? Well, hopefully we're working for two reasons: for sustenance, for our material interests, and for adventures, wherever we want to, how we want to spend our money, right? We're trying to earn money so we can spend it a certain way. And hopefully for meaning or joy, or for some sort of personal fulfillment. So the extrinsic and intrinsic job motivating factors. If we can see work in that way, then we understand that work isn't something that we ever can finish. We're not supposed to finish. and it serves a purpose is not something, it's not who we are. So the concept that we are bigger than the things that we're interested in, that we care about, or that we think are the reason why we exist, or even the relationships in our life, we are bigger than them because our relationships serve a purpose. That has been a really important belief of mine, because it always puts you first and above the things that you're working towards. So then it puts your health and your well-being above those things as well. So that's more of a mindset. The other one, I guess it could kind of be a mindset as well as an action, is commitment. The difference between commitment and wanting something or desiring something or thinking you want to do something. Commitment is a choice that no matter what happens, you're going to stay dedicated and on track and on a certain path towards something. To put this into perspective, if you have a commitment to run a business, and my commitment is that I want to do it in the realm of talent development, there are a lot of different paths to achieve that goal if I stay committed to the overall goal. And so basically commitment prevents you from giving up because one thing didn't work out. So it's, people call it resilience, they call it dedication. I think of it as commitment because if you make a choice to do something, that choice doesn't change because the way that you're going to work towards that choice has to. It's kind of like, I like eating carrots. I want to eat healthy, so I eat carrots, but I don't have carrots today, but I have celery. I'm going to eat celery. Like I know it's a silly example.
Helpful analog. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have commitment, we have this idea of what purpose is, etc. And honestly, if you can have those two things, a lot can occur. The other one would be knowing what my values are. And so, because you have to know what to commit to,
sure,
and you have to know what's important in your life. And so your values can create your actions and create your interests. Your values they're not limited by one singular thing. Like for example, number one value is health. So health for me is mental, spiritual, emotional, physical. It's a gamut. So if I can't do something physical because I broke my ankle or I'm immobile, then I'm going to be doing things that are spiritual, mental, and emotional. So I'm still able to serve that value. It's independent of what's actually happening in my life. And I'd say, I guess can I keep going? Can I keep saying something?
For sure.
Okay. So these actually all relate to the 3 C's of self-leadership that I work with clients on: clarity, confidence, and control. We haven't really talked about confidence that much, but it's the undeniable belief in myself. There's one thing I can go back in time and tell my younger self, it was to just believe in yourself. It doesn't matter what other people think. My mind made me terrible on the field in terms of sports. It developed a terrible association with food, and it really hindered and limited my relationships that I formed when I was younger. And the third thing, or of the 3 C's, and many lists of things that changed my life, would have to be control, and a specific part of control, which would be your environment. I don't care how strong you think you are. If the building is burning, you're not going to care so much about your goals. You're going to care about the fact that the building is burning. And so this goes back to the first idea that we have to be bigger than the things we care about, because if our environment is not serving us into what we're trying to achieve in our life, we have to first focus on changing our environment or lower our expectations for ourselves. Because going back to having confidence in yourself, it's all interrelated.
Yeah. Love that, man. What seems to be true, it's certainly consistent in my life, but with a lot of successful high achievers, when we ask these questions about what kind of skills have been most impactful throughout our careers, it oftentimes are these like kind of foundational, almost first principle skill sets that are readily transferable across a lot of different things that enable you to consistently, or at least with a high probability, achieve the things that you set out to achieve. Things that oftentimes roll up into an ability to be consistent, right? Whether you call that resilience or having a clear vision, adaptability, et cetera, right? It's always helpful to hear how these kind of there are these pillar attributes or skills that, if honed and developed in the same ways that maybe you would develop a lot of, other more technical skills, if you will, can be applicable in whatever domain you end up, applying them ultimately, and allows you to be more adaptable throughout your career. So it certainly sounds like those things have been true for you. How have you, like, did you intentionally set out to establish those 3 C's? Presumably there's some kind of like feedback loop through your own kind of experience and learning, but how did those 3 C's, I guess, like come to fruition?
I'll make a quick joke. It's not like Excel was the thing that changed my life, right? But I think I have to admit that the pillars that I shared drove me to be able to learn things that I think were influential, like understanding how to sell, understanding marketing, understanding Excel, understanding PowerPoint. I remember my first job, actually, I read books on Excel for Dummies because I told them I could do some things that I couldn't do, and I ended up having to learn some things pretty quick. So those pillars, those first principle, attributes, characteristic beliefs, whatever you want to call them, they lead you to being able to learn the things that you need to learn to be able to succeed in the way that you're trying to succeed. So the 3 C's actually were derived from from a different model, from the Live model, the Live for Yourself consulting, which I wrote on the back of a napkin after kind of really reflecting on all the things that I learned in the realm of personal and professional development. What were those first principles? The 3 C's developed because I was trying to figure out, well, what is making certain clients more successful than others, and able to use this framework and this model. And then I even delve deeper into the framework of what I think leads to success, and those 3 C's came about. Now, I think there's more than 3 pillars that can lead you to ultimate success in life and to be a self-leader so you can handle any sort of situation. But I think these 3 C's really do, depending on how you define them, right, really encompass a lot of what the realm of personal and professional development discusses, or like what anyone on stage is talking about. As you said, you can kind of get down to these pillars that really seem to be everything. And it really is that simple, but understanding them and incorporating them into your life, it takes experiential learning. You have to try them, you have to do them, you have to do some reflection, you have to talk to people about their own experiences, and ultimately you have to believe that it's possible.
Yeah, like with all of the, clients or organizations that you work with, and particularly when you are working with busy leaders with demanding schedules, a lot of whom certainly understand intellectually and personally, probably prioritize and place a lot of value on their own growth and development as a leader. How do you help them actually prioritize and invest time in their own growth and development, despite the demands of of our day to day ultimately?
Well, I can't force you.
Yep.
Like, I need someone to be 100% invested. And there are people that are not. There are people that I fire as clients.
Really?
Because they say they want to be on board and then they're not. And I'm okay with you not doing the exercises. I'm okay with you not responding me through a messaging app that I use with my clients. I'm not okay with you not showing up to sessions. I'm not okay with you not growing. Like, because the messaging and the exercises, they're important, but they're not critical. There's other ways to grow in your life and to change and transform. If my modality isn't working for you, we'll find a different modality.
Sure.
But if you're not invested, then there's no point in us working together. I'm not here to be a check the box. And it is very true that to work with a coach, like, you have to be so ready. You have to be either so motivated to change or in so much pain that you're willing to try anything. So you're either so good at your game and so interested in learning and growing that you're so motivated and excited by it that you're ready to invest time and energy into it, or you have to be so down in the dumps that you're willing to try anything. Because it's work. Personal growth is work. Even for me to fill out a goal spreadsheet, and to work backwards on it and to figure out what I need to prioritize takes work. Most change comes from pain.
Yeah.
If I'm a business owner and I don't have clients, I'm going to try to figure out why I don't have clients. It's usually not happening when things are pretty good. And I think one of the issues that tends to happen in life is we don't realize that we're just okay. And when then we wake up and we go, well, okay wasn't really where I wanted to be, and we lost the opportunity to take advantage of where we were at that time. And so if If we're not moving forwards, we're probably slowly moving backwards. Like it may really slowly, but we probably are it's happening.
Yeah, totally fair. And you end up getting in this kind of vicious cycle to some extent where the problem starts to manifest or materialize in a way that you can actually, you actually come to realize, I have been slipping up, or I am not happy with this current situation. And the things that you would have to do to invest in order to make meaningful, sustainable change take time. So you actually create this like delta or prolonged period of time, where you are just like really unsatisfied with where you are and that you didn't do the things that you should have done before. So it's like, how do we keep these things top of mind and again continue to prioritize these things on a weekly basis? I'm going to keep like pushing you on this one. Like, is there anything tactically that you have clients do in order to ensure that happens, or does it just vary so substantially across everyone?
By the way, I was envisioning the fact it's kind of like when we have a full closet of clothes, and so we wear them and we go out, and then they're dirty, so we put them down and drop them on the floor. If we don't do a load of laundry, eventually we'll have 30 loads of laundry to do and no clothes to wear. And that's kind of what life is like. We're going through each day with a different pair of clothes, hopefully with the same values. But no matter what, we get a little dirty. A little gunk gets built up. And until we do some cleaning, it's going to get worse. And it's going to be harder if we don't do that reflection, those exercises. So there's a ton of different strategies, and every person is a little bit different. Like I said, some clients will sell their company or quit their job before they fill out a worksheet, because it's just not how they operate. And we have to figure out what works best for us. So some people will plan their week on a Friday and do a quick values reflection. Where am I aligned with my values? Where am I not? Some people will journal every day. And some people will do a self-reflection. What did I accomplish today when they're at the gym, when they're working out? Some people will have a men's group or a mentor group or a mentor or, a diverse group of people, a forum where they go in and talk about what's bothering them, what issues they are. Ultimately, it all relates to, what do I care about? Does my work, my personal life, and my relationships and my intimate relationships align with those values in my life? And so there's some type of strategy that person incorporates into their world that checks on that. And so it's very much like having a coach, but it is self-directed or peer-directed or maybe mentor-directed, or maybe, honestly, you have an awesome leader at work.
Yeah.
And that person, during your one-on-ones every week, talks to you not just about your KPIs and your goal and what progress you're making, but what career development goals you have, what personal development goals you have, and holds you accountable to them. And so we have to find what works for us. But the one thing we shouldn't do is wait to the new year or to our birthday and say, hey, how am I doing?
Yeah. It's probably going to be pretty tough to reflect back on the year with a sufficient amount of fidelity and objectivity to get any kind of real meaningful value from that, for sure. I definitely do a lot of the things that you just described. The weekly cadence, feel like the weekly retros, weekly prioritization. I use, 80-20 kind of. I have a variety of kind of different frameworks I use as basically just mental models to try and simplify the process of capturing most of the value of the exercises that we're talking about. Not earlier in my career, I would really get bogged down oftentimes in creating like the perfect process. It ended up creating just enough rigidity to where it would hurt adherence ultimately, and then thus come as a consequence to consistency, and ultimately I wouldn't capture the value that I hoped to. But I think at this point I've found like some of the right balance there, although nothing compares to having the kind of accountability of a coach or a leader that's really another person that you respect and admire that's holding you accountable to those things?
Or when you have an environment that serves your values. So in your relationships, when your job, like when things tend to be working okay and you have some growth plans and you have some learning goals, you don't really have to do that much in regards to check-in. Maybe you have a good leader as well. This becomes really important if your environment or location or your job are not aligned with your values. It even becomes more important too when you have a big change in your life. So if you move, or you get a new job, or you get a new relationship, or you go through a breakup. And so you will 100% need to stay on path and track. And they're great time for reflection, which is why you see people either move, cut their hair, quit their job when these like big things happen in their life, because they feel like they've known they have to make a change, but they haven't had the energy to make that change. But now they feel because there's disruption, they can make greater change. And so hopefully you don't have to wait for those types of moments.
Sure.
But if you're able to curate an environment that is working for you and you have a life that is working for you, I don't want you to think that you have to step back and do this insane level of reflection all the time. You can ebb and flow with the amount of energy and effort that you put into it if you feel that you're on the right path.
I love that. How about you specifically? What's both your routine in terms of, reflection, goal setting? You can give us high level. Maybe we'll double click on a couple points. And then also like your overall skill development. So professional development primarily. How do you prioritize that, if at all? Walk us through that for yourself.
Yeah, so this is like current state for everybody. I just bought a new house. First time I bought a house in Austin, Texas. I took on a pretty big senior management consulting role in talent development that relates directly to what I'm doing, but it's more like assessment and facilitation, leader coaching. I have a partnership with an outplacement firm, so that's really well. And I have my regular one-on-one, high-touch, personalized client load.
Wow.
Also am kind of volunteering for this YPO group and helping them organize some events. It's a YPO Jewish group, which I'm Jewish, and so I feel connected to my community and get to do something around people that I love being around. I am really interested and an investor in better for you CPG products and have just started going along the path of psychedelics. And so really looking at what psychedelic companies are doing, want to either get involved in deal flow or talent development in that industry. I have a beautiful partner. We've been together for almost 5-6 years. I have a cat, a dog, turtle. I love yoga and soccer and health and fitness and all that stuff. Okay, so now you have this environment. I am really, really happy with my professional life at the moment, but have had a larger need for greater income streams because of the home that I'm building. And the disruption that a home creates because it impacts your environment and how much time you have for other things is really significant. And so I've had to sit back and analyze, like, am I okay with where I'm spending my time? How do I want to spend my time? Where can I create extra levels of income while doing things that I still love? And how do I feel like I'm still grounded within a space when my home is completely, and so I've actually been doubling down a lot more in reflection, waking up an hour earlier, coming to my room, opening up my notebook, doing mostly task lists because I'm doing the things that I love. I'm aligned with my values. I have relationships and community that I'm excited about, but I want to enter into a new industry. So I have after I go through my little notebook and make sure that I know what I'm doing for the day and the number one priorities, I'll do usually about half an hour to hour of creative work or like the main things that I need to do. And I have a Google form called Daily Tasks. And I'll tell you how many items that it is. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16 items. 2 of them are visioning. And the rest are the things that I know that move the needle. And the last thing that I have are actually people that work in the psychedelic industry that I'm trying to build relationships with. And I'll make sure that I engage with them at least on a weekly basis to build those relationships. And so that's how I stay aligned, honestly. And, I will not do that task list and go, oh man, I can't believe I didn't do the most important thing that I hold myself accountable to every day. Because things happen, you forget things.
Of course.
So then I have that task now for my own health and wellness. I go to the gym after that, or I go to yoga class, or I go for a run. And then on Sundays, I integrate community in my social life at Broga. So I get all my guys together and we do yoga every
Broga.
Sundays.
I love it.
But so you can see there, like I have set things, and I have also monthly happy hours that I've organized. I have set ways to create to fill my cup and to make sure that my cup is where it needs to be. Right. And then if my cup changes sizes because of things happening in my life, then I'm able to reflect and figure out, okay, like I have the bottom of the cup filled, that's important, but what if I want to add some stuff on top?
I love it. I love it. I want to double click on that Google form, or at least I want to see a version of it. I myself, just one of the exercises that I do and have instituted, well, a number of the exercises across our leadership team at Coding Temple, but one of the co-founders and COO and myself, every week we align on, for us, there's so many things, going on, initiatives, new products, new programs, challenges, etc. And we ultimately want to strive for excellence in a few things rather than, good or mediocre performance across a lot of different things, right? Again, kind of coming back to this, like 80% of our results are going to come from 20% of the causes type of thing. So we will, ask ourselves independently and then come together and align on these things and hold each other accountable week to week. But, if we could only accomplish 2 things this year, or first even start by like, what is the 20% that matters, right? Like, what is the 20% that's going to drive 80% of the value? And then if we could only accomplish 2 things this year, what would those things be? And then if we only had 2 hours a week, what would success look like? So these are all like lining up together, right? And ultimately you get this really distilled list of like, if I literally only had 2 hours of being able to get work done this week, what would be the most important things that we get done related to, again, how we're defining success this year and the 20% that matters ultimately. And that's just been, it really helps individuals who are high achievers, who have a lot of things that they could get done and have an innate desire to get a lot of things done, the permission to focus on the things that you are really going to say yes to and lean into. And know that like that is actually successful, just getting those couple things done and not worrying about the other, 80 things that you could get done.
I love that.
Yeah.
2 additions, because I think it's important. I ask myself before I do a task, or when I'm stressing about a task, I go, will anyone know that I did this? And when is this actually due, if so? Because I can do most things in a couple hours. Like, it's not. I don't mean to. I think we all can.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find myself at 10 o'clock at night with my friends, being like, I need to go home and reply to those LinkedIn messages, or I have to go work on this report that's due in a week and a half. And I go, no, I don't. No, I don't.
Yep. So you're kind of, these are floating around in your head as like new tasks and things like that come up. It's will anyone know if I do this? And when does this need to get done?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So first off, am I accountable to anyone other than myself? And then when does it actually need to get done? Is there a set due date on this? You could then build on what you said too, is will this earn me income? Which is what I ask myself a lot. Because that's kind of the focal point. When you find what you love, extrinsic variables just increase in importance.
100%. Yeah. I couldn't agree more, Miss. I could not agree more. Somehow we are at time. I want to be respectful of your time. I could jam with you all day about this stuff, and I hope that you'd be open to coming back on at some point and we could really dive into the tactical strategies, because I truly think, and certainly what seems to be the case, at least with our audience, the tactical frameworks, templates, things like that are things that we all like to geek out on. So thank you so much for making the time today, Ben. Always a pleasure. I'm here if I can be supportive and always be a promoter of the work that you do. So thank you so much for coming on today, man.
I appreciate you having me. It's always fun.